One thing that we notice a lot, and over our past 15 years of doing this, is a lot of older people come out to these rallies. Not all the time, but we notice a lot of younger faces kind of interspersed in that crowd. And we were like, this is a good thing. This is a really good sign. So we like that.
I just sat down with my 18-year-old yesterday to talk to him about here's what your bills are going to look like if you graduated from college today. Here is what college graduates are looking to have to pay for just their monthly rent, their monthly utilities. Here's what they have to make in order to cover that amount. And these are high salaries that they have to make just to get by. I mean, let alone have money left over for entertainment or whatever. What amazes me is that Joe Biden is not focusing on that age group. He's focusing on the purple-haired weirdos at the campuses who are protesting when that's such a tiny fraction of all the kids in that age group who are struggling economically and who aren't paying attention to what's happening in Gaza. His focus is just on the wrong things all the time, always.
All right, folks, what a weekend. I hope all you mothers out there had a great weekend to celebrate, feel the love a little. I hope you sons and daughters honored your mothers. It's their day. Anyway, a lot happening. What a rally Trump had. I don't know if you guys saw the photos of this. 100,000 people in Wildwood, New Jersey. It's a town of 5,000. It was amazing. I'll get into this in a minute. I wish it was in Pennsylvania, though. I just wish it was a little west. You get so much more data on those folks. Anyway, I'm not going to, I'll get into this. Chicks on the right are here. I'm going to ask them about this. We're going to break it all down. Obviously, Trump back in court today. Michael Cohen is testifying. That's right. Their star witness is a convicted liar. That tells you everything we need to know about that. Nikki Haley got floated as a VP by Axios. Trump shot that balloon down real quick. And Barron Trump, no longer a delegate. I'll talk about that in just a sec. I'm going to bring in chicks on the right. Mock and Daisy, you probably know them as Miriam and Amy. But before I do that, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors. Before I even get to that, though, do me a huge favor. I would really hope that you're subscribing across all platforms. YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, I don't care, Spotify. Do me a favor. It just is so super helpful to subscribe. And also, hit the notification button. You know how many few of you are doing that? And that lets you know that we're starting. That's a huge thing. 6 o'clock on all those platforms every night. Anyway, before I get to chicks on the right, I want to tell you about 4 Patriots because something's going to happen. I don't know when or where. That if I did, I'd be buying lottery tickets. But I've had a generator in the past when something went out and I had to trek down to the gas station, assuming it was open, to then fill up the thing every several hours to fill up the generator. And then I had to run a bunch of cords into my house. The thing about the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, and I've got one now, is I don't ever have to worry about that again. No gas, no fumes, no noise. I can bring it into my house. It's completely portable. And if you go to 4patriots.com/Spicer, you can get one too. You get these solar panels. They come free with it. It's the power of the sun. And we're talking running for hours. Everything that you need when an emergency or power outage hits, tablets, medical devices, computers, you can even run your refrigerator on it. I brought it inside. And like I've told you before, if you've listened to the show, the cool thing is it's completely portable. You can bring it to a friend's house. You can bring it to an outdoor event. You'll be the hero. You can bring it inside your own house. And that's the beautiful thing about it. It is ready to go and it's rechargeable just through the sun. So go to 4patriots.com/Spicer to make sure that you are ready when there's a natural disaster, a power outage, whatever it is. Get ahead of the curve. Trust me, you're ready to do that. All right, folks, thanks for waiting. Without further ado, chicks on the right. All right, ladies, happy Mother's Day. What a great way to start the week with you two.
Aww.
Great to be here.
Wait, let me see if this works.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I was like, I know how to make a heart. I didn't know. That is
right.
That is super high tech. I think that might be a first for the show.
Really?
How come when I do it, nothing happens?
Nothing happens.
You have to have a Mac. You got to have a Mac.
Oh.
She's so fancy. Fancy.
All right. I hope you did have a great Mother's Day. I saw a little bit of the show this morning. You guys were very clear that you were celebrating Mother's Day, not
yes.
Yeah. So I hope you celebrated Mother's Day well.
We did.
Indeed.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of having a good weekend, I have watched a lot of Trump rallies over the last, let's just think about this, 8 years, 7.5 years. That one in New Jersey really blew my mind. And I just start with you, Dave. I mean, like 100,000 people in Wildwood, New Jersey. And just to give people context, Wildwood, New Jersey, I think it just, I'm doing my geography. But it's right near Atlantic City. Has about 5,000 year-round residents, very big beach community. So this is like, if you're going there, you've made a decision, you're going there for the Trump rally. Estimates are between 80 and 100,000 people showed up.
That's a lot.
The only thing that I took issue with, and I said this last week, was if they'd just gone a little west, they could have really focused on trying to get a lot of those folks that live in Pennsylvania. And so, Mock, I'll start with you. I mean, I was like, oh, just go a little west, and it could have been so much more.
Well, I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I just was so amazed at the turnout in such a notoriously blue state. And I did love that he, talked to the press that was right in the front saying, turn around and show this amazing crowd, which of course the normal mainstream media channels never want to do. And especially in this case, when people were camping out for hours and hours and hours, what an amazing turnout.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Davey, the thing is, I was watching a little bit of that on Right Side Broadcasting with Brian, and he was saying exactly that, which was, hey, we want you to see how many people are here. We want you to feel what it's like to be part of the rally. So we're going to show you kind of what we're going to give you a sense of the environment. And I thought that was really cool because I've been to a couple of these and I get it. But if you haven't been, to have the perspective of how many people are there and how excited they are and how excited, is really a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah, they don't want people to. The media doesn't want anybody to see that. And Jersey has been a stronghold for Democrats since what, like 1992, when I was in college, like undergrad school. So that's a long time. And so,
but it is a little. Look, I got to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer on a Monday morning, but I'm sorry. This is why I wish it had been a little west. I'm like, New Jersey's not. Maybe look, it is. We're in May. Maybe in October we can have this discussion, but right now it is not. If you don't need New Jersey, if Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's game over. Just spend your time there. Like, this is what frustrates me, is it's like, dude, I get it, you want New Jersey to be in play, maybe it will be in play, but like, all you need is to get over the top in Pennsylvania and you win.
Yeah, but we also noticed there were a lot more younger people in the audience. We saw that too, and that's a big deal, Sean, because I mean, one thing that we notice a lot, and over our past 15 years of doing this, is a lot of older people come out to these rallies. Not all the time, but we notice a lot of younger faces kind of interspersed in that crowd. And we were like, this is a good thing. This is a really good sign. So we like that. Plus, he got his jabs in at Bruce Springsteen with the whole Jersey thing. Bruce
the thing
Springsteen
is,
like that.
and the reason for people to understand, like, wonder why I get annoyed a little is because it's not just the rally. Look, Trump could be anywhere. He could be having this rally on Mars. It's going to get covered. People who are going to see it. So from that standpoint, the whining about where he spends his time is a little overblown. The reason I care is because when he goes to a place like Wildwood, they're gathering data. As you come in the door, they're like, your name, address, and then that way they can follow up with you. They can make sure you have a plan to vote. If they had been doing it, that's 100,000 names in Pennsylvania that could have really been put to the test. Let's just call it 50-50 and save a bunch of the people drove over from Pennsylvania. Still great. But again, I just felt like the more data you can be collecting on people, especially these young people, because the one thing we know about Trump voters is in a lot of cases, they're first timers, or they're not there. Maybe they're not the first time that they're voting, but they might be the first time they're voting Republican.
Yeah.
Well, can you call him?
You know him.
I'll call. I think he wanted, but it wasn't. I don't think it's lost on his team. It wasn't like they were like, you're right. I think that they were like, Trump really wants to make the claim that New Jersey's in play. That's not a joke. He really does believe that. My point is, it's sort of like training for something, and you're kind of like, I want to climb the big mountain. They're like, great. The first thing you need to do is run to the end of the street before you get to the top of the mountain. Like, we'll get there. Yeah. And I don't, like I said, I'm not saying that I don't want New Jersey to be in play, but I feel like you've got 7 battleground states, then Minnesota and Virginia. Then we'll talk about New Jersey, but like, let's slow our roll here and get to the ones, because look, and I don't want to jump the shark here, but there's a bunch of new polls out. We'll talk about them in a minute. But Tom Bevan at Real Clear Politics said if we look at the new polls right now, that gets just those polls that don't include New Jersey, that don't include Virginia. I mean, they include them, obviously, but they don't include them like in Trump's column. Just on the current polls with battleground states, Trump is at 312. Like, he's good. Like, focus on locking this thing in. I just don't want to be saying to myself, one of the things, remember, that we mocked Hillary Clinton for, no pun intended there, is we remember we were like, gosh, you didn't go to Wisconsin enough, and then you lost Wisconsin. And I feel like it's like, dude, there's a reason that Biden's camping out in Pennsylvania, Mock. I'll let you answer that since I invoked you. I feel like it's it's like a debate. I called your name. You get to answer the question.
Well, I hear you. You're very fired up about this whole Pennsylvania thing.
Because I just want to win. I just want to it's like Trump wants the gravy. He's like, let me just pour it over the top. And I'm like, just win it.
But I mean, isn't it possible that he is going to do that, and it's just early, and he wants to be able to show, look, I've captured the attention of this blue state, and then he'll go to, like, it's not like he's not going to go to Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
So,
and we are early. I get it. We're early.
And
so it's not like.
And do you believe polls, Sean? Do you really believe them? Do you?
No, but I don't believe them in the sense that, like, I want to take it to the bank. I always believe that they underreport us. And so my point is that there's not, I mean, to your point, what, college, 1992, the last time we won, and I don't even, but why are we, like, we know we can win Pennsylvania. We know we can win Michigan. We know we can win Georgia and Arizona. And so it's not that I don't want the test. I think if Trump puts these in the bag, I'm all for it. But like I said, it's like anything that you would do professionally or tell your kid. It's like, focus on what you need to, like, let's get through the easy first, if you will, and then go to that. So it's not that I'm against it. I don't want anyone saying, let's not go to New Jersey, but I feel like it's like, let's focus on what needs to get done to get us to 270.
The low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging, not even low. It's the one right in front of us, because the Biden folks are going great. You don't see them hanging out in Texas. It's like they get it. And when they said they were making a play for Florida, everybody mocked them, rightly so. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but I just want to, I mean, like, I just was so excited how many people are out there. So for people watching, I was fired up. I saw so many people there. I'm like, let's just make sure we're getting the right people fired up, and focused. The one, I know this sounds petty to be picking on not petty, to be noticing in a political environment for the things that I care about. But there was a video of what that rally looked like after everybody left. And it looked like the cleaning crew had gone through, but it was just the Trump supporters that had cleaned it up.
Yeah. Yep. We're clean. Like, remember the tea? remember the tea?
We're clean.
We're clean. We are, Sean. We are. Remember the Tea Party rallies? We
I'm
talked about
Donald
that
Trump.
this morning.
We're clean.
We're clean. That should be a tagline. Conservatives, we're clean.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Because remember the Tea Party rallies we used to have, like, back in the day? We talked about this morning. Like, we would clean up after ourselves. That's who we are as a party. Like, we are clean. We're clean.
And I guess we care about the environment more.
Yeah, I guess we do.
But it also it's such a stark contrast to these quads and areas of universities and college campuses where it looks disgusting.
Yeah,
and
the dirty hippies. Dirty hippies.
But your point about the dirty hippies, we're not clean. But the thing is, I know you were saying this tongue in cheek a little, but it's like, these are the people that care about the environment and recycling and all this BS. And it's like, wait a second, you just trashed a quad.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't tongue in cheek. I mean it. Like, they are disgusting.
And but destroying buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe we should make that. I don't think anyone votes on, like, who the cleaner party is. But.
And this is the kind. And I always wonder. I'm like, we constantly talk about. So we're like, who's in charge of comms for RNC? Like, they should be using this stuff for commercials.
But here's my. Do you really think? I think that the difference is, I know this and you know this. Like, we know we're better and we're cleaner and we're more conscious of stuff. I don't think that anybody sits back and says, like, I get it, I'm with you, but I also feel like it's like you're either, like I always tell people on a campaign, there were people come in and say, I don't like the ad. And I'd go, great, it's not for you. Like, you're already with us. And conversely, like the people who really love it, I mean, your goal, like if you agree with what we're saying, you're on our team. Like, I don't think if you're a filthy, college student that's a leftist, that like, I don't think you're with us because of things like that, or you're going to be. They're nuts. I mean, I'm listening to these people give interviews talking about how they deserve humanitarian aid. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that I even want you on my side.
Yeah, but it's all about branding though, right? Like if I saw that and I was a 22-year-old on the fence person, which who are those people at this point, right? But
Right.
if there is somebody who's on the fence and I saw an ad for, like, do I want to be a complete scumbag, or do I want to be on the side where they actually clean up after themselves and they have self-respect?
All right, hate to interrupt the conversation, but I want to tell you about my friend Leo Grillo. If you're an animal lover, then you're going to want to hear this. Leo Grillo founded an organization called deltarescue.org. And if you go to deltarescue.org, you've heard me talk about this before if you're a longtime watcher of the show. You'll see the videos. This is a no-kill sanctuary, not a shelter, a sanctuary. The work that Leo Grillo does is unreal. It's just amazing. The care that he's taken to help all kinds of animals, dogs, cats, horses, whatever, given the veterinary care that they need, the nutrition they need for life. It's not a no-kill shelter. It's a no-kill sanctuary, but it only survives because of donations from people like me and you. So if you can help out, if you're an animal lover, do something to help the cause. Help Leo Grillo out so this can continue. $5, $10, $1,000. If you're Bob Menendez, I'm talking to you. I want $1,000 gold bar. But if you can also go to that estate planning kit when you're on deltarescue.org and see if you can make Delta Rescue part of your estate so that it becomes an enduring mission. Go to deltarescue.org. See how you can help if you're an animal lover like me. Kind of like those UNC kids the other day where the takeaway, I got a lot of crap on Twitter where people are like, I can't believe you're trying to highlight a bunch of fratty Brooks Brothers kids. And I was like, but you understand that, like, in the world that kids live in today, college kids and even high school kids, they're influenced by people. And if I'm a young kid today, and I look out and I say, wow, I mean, this, I think, goes to your point about branding. And I sit there and I say, these kids defended the flag and now they're being thrown a $400,000 party and John Rich wants to go play for them. I go, hey, maybe I want to do the right thing and go behave like that because people reward you for being a good citizen, respecting our flag, showing up, being a patriot, whereas they don't seem to have a ton of respect for you if you sleep in a tent, cover your mouth, and shout and yell out things that don't make sense.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
it's about time that we start rewarding that kind of behavior rather than cash me outside, girl.
Right. And I think that's the thing that a lot of the people in the media missed is it wasn't rewarding these guys. It was showing them the right behavior. And that's what I loved about it. It was, there are so many times when, and I know we're all parents, it's like as a parent, you want to stop. I'll stop and I'll say to my son or my daughter, like, hey, that moment, why that matters is because so-and-so did the right thing or what they did was the wrong thing. And they're going to now pay and it's they call them teachable moments. But I think what was so great about that the other day was it was a teachable moment for young kids. And to say, as I enter the workforce, as I become an adult, I see how the difference between the two paths that I can choose.
Right. Absolutely.
Speaking of the paths that people can choose, Lawrence Taylor, I'm not a big fan of the Giants, got up there on stage and gave this really cool. He stood on stage and said, I've been a Democrat my whole life. I've been talked about this, and I'm voting for this guy.
I grew up a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat until I met this man right here. I'll tell you what. He will not have to worry about nobody in my family ever vote for a Democrat again, okay?
I think that says a lot. That's part of the reason why Trump keeps chipping away at black men in particular. And I think that one of the big issues that Biden's going to face is a problem with minorities. But these little examples where and again, I think we're on a great piece here. This idea of branding. If you're a minority and you're looking to vote, and you turn around and everyone in your community saying, I'm voting Democrat, I'm voting for Joe Biden, it's very difficult. I get it. It's just tough. It's peer pressure. But when you see a Lawrence Taylor and others stand up and say, I've been a Democrat, it's okay to jump in this side of the pool. The water's warm. That's a great signal. And I'm so glad that he got up there and that Donald Trump made time for him.
It was amazing. And it matters. Like those voices, I think, really, really matter. Now, of course, you're probably going to see all kinds of leftists go after those two and, call them every name in the book, say that they're traitors to the race or whatever. But I think it's every time Trump has an opportunity to do that and for others to hear, especially because Biden is such an embarrassing candidate, I think even for Democrats. So, and especially Black Democrats, no one is coming out and being proud to be a Biden supporter. They're doing it because maybe they feel like they always have had to be a Democrat. They're going to continue to be a Democrat. But when they hear voices like that come out and say, we all know that he has been awful for the country and for Black people specifically, and we're tired of it. And we're not just going to give him our vote. And so I love that. I love that he gave those gentlemen a platform, and I think it matters. I really do.
Yeah. And now I wish more Jewish people would do it.
That's an interesting point. It was funny. I was watching CNN. I tell this to the audience every week. I watch the Sunday show so you don't have to. I have an addiction. I get it. I'm on step 8 or 9. I can't help myself. And but I also work out, so I feel like I'm cleansing my body as I'm polluting my mind. but anyway, Dana Bash, who is Jewish, was confronting J.D. Vance, who had agreed with Donald Trump that if you vote Democrats who support Joe Biden at this point aren't good Jews, is basically what he's saying. And she was like, don't you think that's a trope? That's, that apparently that's been something in the Jewish community about choosing Israel versus, and maybe it is. I haven't never heard that before. And I don't think that every Jew has to support Israel 100%. There are Catholics that don't agree with everything the Vatican says. And so I get it that you don't, that's not the be all and end all. But I do think that the point that he's making is here is a guy who stood steadfast with Israel, who's been, and I think it is important to call that out and to make it clear that you have a president currently who puts his finger in the air and wants both sides, kind of like what he said about Charlottesville, sort of somehow mainstreaming Hamas and terrorists, by the way, who are holding American citizens hostage. Let's not forget that.
Right.
And,
I know.
And another president who has been foursquare with Israel. I think that is important. I think that's right. We should be calling it out more.
It's hugely important. And I can't believe that we're not seeing more Jewish celebrities and just people of, Jewish people of prominence that are calling it out more. We're just not seeing that. And I don't know why.
Why don't you think so? But you say, but I watched Jerry Seinfeld give this commencement speech this week. And he was like, he's very proud to be, and he should be. I don't understand. To me, I'm still befuddled by this whole thing. It's not like you're choosing sides, two teams are playing and fighting each other for a landmass. Hamas attacked Israel unprovoked on October 7th and killed and took hostages, women and children, innocent civilians, non-combatants. And this to me is a no-brainer. You can be pro-Palestinian as Bernie Sanders is, but how can you justify what they did on that day?
You can't.
I know.
And they do. And they do. And they still do it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't get it either. Yeah. It's not a hard thing to just say, yeah, I'm anti-terrorist. What?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah.
That to me, I just don't get, but I think you're right that the one thing, and I want to play a clip on the economy because the broader point that you're making that I think is important is when Donald Trump is focused on issues, whether it's Israel or describing the discrepancy between his administration and Joe Biden's when it comes to opportunities for minorities, for small businesses, et cetera. And he talked about the Biden economy. And I want to play the clip for you if I can and just show you the contrast on what he said and why I think it's important. Let's go.
The price of hot dogs up 22%. Chicken's up 32%. Hamburgers are up 37%. That's why I had the hot dog. It went up the least. Soda's up 30%. Eggs are up 50%. Gasoline's up 50%. Bacon is up 79%. Bacon. That's why I don't have bacon anymore. It's too expensive. Not one thing is cheaper. There's not one thing anywhere. There's not one item that's cheaper. Energy is way up. That's what caused the problem. You had low energy. You had energy at $1.87. Now it's up to almost $4 again, and it's going up higher. In California, it's got just hit $7.21 today. Some place was ripping you off. And if you're young and looking to buy a home, the 30-year mortgage rate is almost at 8%. When I left office, it was 2.6%. 2.6, a little difference.
See, that to me, that, what about was 60 seconds? Was that's the election in a nutshell. Because it wasn't just the interest rates I think are huge because it's really hurting the next generation of Americans that want to buy homes. But I mean, I think he made me hungry. Like I was sitting there thinking, oh, bacon, hot dog, hamburger, oh, hot dog.
Bacon. You had to pay bacon. Right.
Right. But the thing is, it's a reminder. Like, I literally think I ate every one of those things over the past 48 hours. And it cost more. And I think I've always said this, that elections come down to two things, personal security and economic security. And he's reminding us how much more expensive it is to live in America under Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's why you're seeing more young people. That's why you see more of the young people at the rallies and just more young people in general just ticked off about everyday life. Because I have two older kids. I have one that's 35 and one that is 30. Both are married. One has a newborn baby. I mean, they are struggling and they do well. They have great careers. They've been on their own for a very long time. And they're on the struggle bus because they're like, this is not okay. Like the middle one, our middle, because I have a 14-year-old too. But the middle one, who's 30, I mean, they live in California. They want to get the heck out as soon as humanly possible. But he's like, we can't buy a house. There's no way we can buy a house till we get out of here. And they both have great jobs. So, I mean, and Mock has a son who's getting ready to graduate high school. Or sorry, he's graduating high school like right now. And I think about him and like that age group. Those kids are like, I think financially, they are screwed right now. Screwed in this economy.
All right, I hate to interrupt this conversation, but we're talking about kids, aren't we? And yesterday was Mother's Day. You know what I got my mother. That's right. The people at Paint Your Life took care of me. And they can take care of you if you text Spicer 87204. Text Spicer to 87204. I took this photo and they made it into a painting. And you can do the same thing. Father's Day's coming up, so don't miss out if you didn't get it right this time. The people at Paint Your Life will take care of you. You can pick the type you want, acrylic, watercolor, charcoal, you name it. Pick your frame, pick your artist. They will create for you a beautiful painting that's unique and meaningful. So maybe it's not even Father's Day, it's a birthday, whatever. But it can also be a compilation. So if you want to put a bunch of people together through different photos or a pet, whatever, they can do that. You pick the artist stays in touch with you, 100% guaranteed. And if you use code word Spicer and you text 87204 right now, you get 20% off and free shipping. Hello. I just saved you a ton of time because this is the perfect, meaningful gift. Do it now. Text Spicer to 87204. Message and data rates apply. I remember I bought my first piece of real estate in my 20s. And I always joke that when I did, the way the interest rates were and the economy was that I remember literally, 12 months later, the bank calls me and says, we're giving you a line of credit because the equity in your house is built up so much. And I bought my first investment property. I was like literally on a check that they had given me. I was like, okay, I'll use your money to buy another place. I don't see how kids now do it. I mean, it's 7% with the interest rates they are. It's putting the price of home ownership, which is part of the American dream and also the biggest way to grow wealth, out of reach for so many people.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And in fact, I just sat down with my 18-year-old yesterday to talk to him about here's what your bills are going to look like if you graduated from college today. Now, he's just graduating high school and getting ready to go to college. But right now, here is what college graduates are looking to have to pay for just their monthly rent, their monthly utilities. Here's what they have to make in order to cover that amount. And these are high salaries that they have to make just to get by. I mean, let alone have money left over for entertainment or whatever. So what amazes me is that Joe Biden is not focusing on that age group. He's focusing on the purple-haired weirdos at the campuses who are protesting when that's such a tiny fraction of all the kids in that age group who are struggling economically and who aren't paying attention to what's happening in Gaza. You know what I mean? Like his focus is just on the wrong things all the time, always.
Also, Daisy, this morning, over whatever it was, last Friday, Thursday, something like that, he did a sit down with Aaron Burnett, and she was confronting him with these statistics, and he was like, no, that's just not true. And it's almost like he's in denial of these and they're not, these aren't debatable. These are government statistics. And he was like, well, things are better. And it's like, they're not better. And if they are, they're better than where you jack them to. It's like, he took an A, made it an F, and then he's like, now I'm getting a D+. So
yeah. Well, it's easy for him to say that because he'll always get a check from us, right? I mean, it's easy for him to say that, for KJP to say that, for all these people who work in government. He's literally been taking a paycheck from us for half a century, and he'll get a pension. He doesn't have to worry about paying for retirement like we do, or he doesn't have to worry about anything because he's constantly going to get a check until the day he dies from the American taxpayer.
I mean, that's the thing is that, he's been in government for 50 years.
Yeah.
And he had a no-show job at the University of Pennsylvania. He wrote a book, which made him a ton of money. He just doesn't have a sense of a payroll. And the only people in his family who've had a payroll are the people who've grifted off of him and then had failed businesses. So,
exactly.
All right, you brought up your sons or your kids, Mike's case, her son. I want to ask you about this because this really ticked me off last week. For a hot minute, Barron Trump was going to be a delegate to the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee in July. He was added alongside his brother, Don and Eric, and his sister, Tiffany. They were going to be delegates. Now, just to paint the picture for everyone here, Florida has 125 delegates. There are 2,429 delegates. So this, despite what NBC and everyone said, wasn't his coming out. He wasn't giving a speech. He wasn't on stage. He was going to be one of, add in the alternates, and you're talking about close to 5,000 people on the floor, 50,000 people attending a convention. And the left was salivating at him being suddenly, he's fair game now. And I thought to myself, no wonder, and I say for a hot minute because he got yanked back and Mrs. Trump put out a statement saying he's got a conflict. And I think the conflict was he's not ready to get exposed to this. And God bless her for doing that. But I was like, this is just sad that this kid can't go out and support his dad by standing there. And like I said, I'm not trying. All the delegates are basically potted plants. The chairman of the delegation says, award Florida's 125 votes to Donald J. Trump, the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And then Barron and his brothers and sisters stand there. I felt like it was just the media saying, okay, just wanted to make sure we can flip the switch and come after you now.
But what if he legit has something else going on and he just can't make it?
I guess my point is fine. I think that maybe he did. But the broader point I have is how sad it is that this kid can't go support his dad without the press going, okay, is that the green light to attack the kid?
Yeah, that's why he's going to be stronger. I mean, I think conservative kids in general, they especially conservative kids of politicians and the like are stronger than, say, like the Hunter Bidens and the Ashley Bidens of the world. They just are, because they're subject to cruelty like this. They're hardened. That's just the way that because they know they're going to be subject to this garbage. And it's kind of like conservative women. I mean, that's I can compare it to that because we've been subject to a lot of the cruelty over the past 15 years because we're conservative women, right? Conservative women are treated different than liberal women in the press and wherever because we're conservative, and that's just the way it goes. So you have to develop a thick skin. And so I think the Trump kids have developed a thick skin because Hunter doesn't get this kind of treatment and Ashley doesn't get, they're treated.
But they treat, by the way, Ashley Biden, who's an adult, gets pretty much hands-off treatment, right?
Oh my
and
God,
I don't
totally.
have a problem with that. It was funny. It was Chelsea Clinton mock that came to Barron's defense and said he gets to be a private citizen. I mean, you don't treat him any different than any other delegate, and no other delegate is going to be. This isn't their. NBC kept saying it's like his coming out, and it's like, no, it's not his coming out.
Well, but I think he does, as far as I know, and maybe I have this wrong, and maybe I'm reading the wrong headlines, but it does sound like he has political aspirations of his own. And he's even going to be like a keynote speaker at a Lincoln Day dinner somewhere in Minnesota, I think, or somewhere. So, I mean, he wants to be involved. And I actually, from the little that we know about Barron, at least that I know, it seems like he's an amazing kid and is more than capable of handling any potential backlash. I actually look forward to them trying to try him because I think he will be more than capable of handling it. And I think I think he's going to be a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This kid is you can tell
he's a phenom.
He's a highly intelligent, capable kid. And I can't wait to see how successful he is. He's going to put all those other Biden kids to shame. It's going to be great to watch. Yeah.
You know, what's funny for me is that the last time I really saw Barron was when I was at the White House, which was 2017. And you forget, I mean, I saw him at Mar-a-Lago here and there, but like you forget with kids, and I forget it with my own, that like, you put them in a mindset of like, oh, he's this old and this big. And then the next thing you see him, and I'm like, I said to President Trump a couple months back, I go, what are you feeding Barron? He was like, God, he's a tall boy, isn't he? I'm like, I'm 5'6", so I appreciate anything over 5'10" is like tall to me. I'm like, that dude is like, he's, I think 6'8" or something. And I'm like, holy gosh. Yeah. And Trump's not a small guy, but I'm thinking to myself, something between Melania and him hit the right thing, and he took off like a tree. But I agree with you. I think he's going to come out. He's been able to kind of watch this from afar, and he's going to come out and go boom and hit these guys. But this is the thing, and I'll leave it at this. I just think that between Ashley Biden and Chelsea Clinton and even Hunter, like they treat these folks on the left like with kid gloves, like we can't touch them, but they salivate. I had a Democratic operative tell me the other day that he is, by being a delegate, endorsing all of his father's positions. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. God. But how, you know, I was like, wow, does that mean that Chelsea Clinton is endorsing all of the things that her father did, in particular with respect to women? I would never make that case. And I thought to myself, he's 18 years old. Maybe he just wants to be a good kid. Maybe he does. Maybe he fully loves everything his dad is doing. I don't know. But maybe he just wants to be a really loving son and show up.
Exactly. Yes, that's his dad.
Yeah. Maybe he just loves his dad. Go figure.
I want to switch to something that I thought was hysterical over the weekend. Axios floated that Nikki Haley, and this is their quote, is under consideration according to two sources, and that there were these pros and cons of both. When I read it the first time, I was like, oh God, like, is this April Fool's? Is this someone playing a bad joke on them? But it took less than 24 hours before Trump truthed out Nikki Haley is not under consideration for the VP slot, but I wish her well. And he signed it DJT just to make sure. And then Chris LaCivita, the senior advisor, pushed that out as well, saying, hey, Axios. And then Axios basically acted like it really wasn't that. They were like, wow, Trump shoots down our reporting. And it's like, no. You were just wrong from the jump. And you fell for something. I mean, how gullible do you have to think anyone is to believe that Nikki Haley, and this isn't she didn't want to be UN ambassador. She left after a year and a half because she couldn't take, you really think she wants to be his VP?
That was just the most unbelievable story. I was like, who does believe this?
Well, and what journalist doesn't think, hey, maybe I should just ask the actual person who's making the decision? Right. I mean, I'm just going to listen to two random sources and just try and go with that story. And then I love that Trump just turned around and was like, nuh-uh. That's essentially what he did.
I was wrong, Axios. Yeah.
Guys like this, it's like the weatherman, though. You know what I'm saying? You know, some days it's like, it's going to rain all day this afternoon. And then it's like the sun comes out and the next day they're like, good morning. Today we're going to bring, it's like, there's never any accountability for the previous forecast. These guys at Axios like laughed it off like somehow, Like if I were a boss there, I'd call in this reporter and I'd say, okay, who are you talking to? Because it doesn't pass the laugh test. And I'd say to myself, if you're going to print it, I would say then you need 10 sources, because on its face, it doesn't make sense. The number one criteria for Trump and a VP candidate is loyalty. Somebody who's going to care about him, who's going to have his back, who's going to promote the America First agenda. And Nikki Haley, love her or hate her, she doesn't pass any of those tests.
Yeah.
And I don't think, so this is not, I get everybody's trying to play this game with the VP thing. And I it's just, to me, it's like somebody floated Glenn Youngkin the other day. He's my governor. I think he's doing a great job as governor of Virginia. He has no relationship with Trump. He's not going to be the VP. And there are days when I look at these people who are floating names and saying, like, you're somewhat embarrassing yourself by saying these things.
But did Trump know Mike Pence? I don't think they knew each other, did they?
But it was different. Trump, they didn't know each other, but they fit. Right. So it was like the chocolate and the peanut butter making the Reese's.
Yin and yang.
It was Trump said, okay, I understand what you bring. I don't know Washington. Pence had been the Republican conference chair when he was in Congress. He'd been a governor of Indiana. He had strong ties to the evangelical community. Trump was like, I get it. This is what he brings. But at the end of the day, he also, they met enough times that he got the loyalty thing. That's not there for those guys.
Yeah.
Like I said, Nikki Haley didn't want to be UN ambassador.
Yeah, they were drunk. They were drunk at Axios. I just don't know.
You think that was it? Were they still partying from the White House Correspondents'
Dinner?
I
think
that
they
was
were
it.
Just drunk. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how we don't. I mean, I'll float we'll float names during our show, but we both just have no clue who he's going to pick. And usually you would know by now. You know?
But okay, so here was an interesting tell. The surprise person at the rally was Doug Burgham, North Dakota governor. But then he apparently hung out on the plane with his wife for an hour talking with Trump. I would say this. Again, I think you're right. I've been around Trump long enough that until he says it, and even after he says it, it needs to wait 10 minutes. You just need to like, but even then, but I do think that Doug Burgham is definitely floating up. You know, in Trump world, it's like the tide. You want to be coming in with it, not going out. And I think that Burgham, I think, is coming in with the tide. And whereas somebody, you know, there's a lot of folks that have gone out. They had their moment. They were considered. It just didn't work, and they're floating out. I actually am impressed with Burgham. I think that he brings the same business-like qualities as Trump. I was impressed with his run. He's obviously not as known, but he gets the role. And I think the other thing is he can stroke a nice check.
Yeah, I do love the fact that he's a businessman. I love the business backgrounds on both of them. I'm a big fan of that. We need more of that in politics. So it's a huge bonus.
Does he bring people in, and if he doesn't, does anybody?
So here's what let me ask you guys this, because you talk to a lot of folks every day. I have posited the following. There is a group of people in the voting electorate called double haters, people who don't like Biden, don't like Trump. They are called the double haters, and this is who pollsters are obsessed with. How do they ultimately break? And I've had this conversation with several people over the last 2 weeks. And they'll say, the problem with Biden is I'm basically voting for Kamala, and I don't like her either because she's going to be president. I believe that Trump's VP can be that savior for a lot of voters who say, I don't like Trump, but I'm voting for fill in the blank. I'm going to vote for Burgham. I'm going to vote for J.D. Vance. I'm going to vote for Tim Scott or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because that clears my conscience. I don't necessarily want to vote for, but there's no way I'm voting for Biden. So I'll vote for the VP candidate. And that's where, to your question, Mark, about bringing on board, it's not bringing, it's pacifying people who wouldn't otherwise be able to vote for him.
Yeah. And
so do you think there's somebody specific that does that better than anybody else?
I like I said, I like Tim Scott, Burgham, Sarah, J.D. Vance. Those are my top four. And I don't think that anyone hurts. Like there's the Nikki Haley, I think would probably hurt for a lot of folks in MAGA world, but no one else under consideration that I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I like Marco Rubio. Obviously there's a big Florida problem there. Byron Donald, same thing. There's a Florida problem, but no one that I can think of hurts.
Okay.
Yeah. We've talked about this on our show, but weirdly enough, like I told you I have that 30-year-old son.
Yeah.
He's married. our daughter-in-law, she loved Burgham. That was her pick. That's who she wanted as president, weirdly enough. So there are millennials out there who love that guy. And
I think once he gets into the spotlight more, that could be a different dynamic. So I do think there's a little bit there. All right, guys, I really appreciate this conversation. I love kicking off. The last thing, if I can, I do want to tell you that I thought was funny. Speaking of Axios, since we're ragging on them, they actually went after Jen Psaki today, which I thought was fascinating. She's got this story in her new book where this is what they said. She that looks at President Biden saying that he never looked at this allegation. He never looked at his watch during the ceremony for soldiers that were killed during the Afghanistan withdrawal, contradicting these. And they're basically saying all the timelines don't match this up. Psaki's not telling the truth.
She pulled a gnome.
I think that's the first time anyone's ever said that. She pulled a gnome.
She did. She's got to get that checked. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. What a great place to end. Ladies, thank you so much for being here and kicking off the week for us. I appreciate everybody being with us and starting your week. I hope you all had a happy Mother's Day as well. Make sure you continue to subscribe on all platforms, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, wherever you get your platforms. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Sean Spicer Show. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.